All right, so we ended the last video with a problem where we didn't quite remove enough material in the corners because pocketing is normal to the floor. So when we had, a cylinder driving our pocketing toolpath, it just wasn't quite good enough. And part of the problem was that the person who posted this wanted to use a 1/2 inch tool to do it. Now, if he's willing to compromise to a 3/8 tool, we can come up with a better solution. With a 1/2 inch tool, I think the slot's just a little too narrow. So what we need to do is make a floor that allows the radius of the tool to be angled next to the wall, so that way we're not being driven off of where the center point is. So I'm going to show you how to create that geometry. So first thing I'm going to do is create a new level, maybe 102. Oops. 102, call this new floor. So let's just turn off these for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch into 2D mode, drawing at Z0, which will put it out here. So let's come up here to wireframe. I'm going to do curve on one edge and make sure I've got some nice thick lines, that way you guys can see them. And we're going to start at all the corners. We need one there, and one there. Okay, great. Now I'm going to change my color here, just so that way we can go through, and we're going to offset entity. Which actually, because this is an offset of these ones, that would turn out blue as well. So let me go to the advanced tab, set this to, say, orange. All right, there we go. And my offset distance is going to be half of 3/8 or 0.1875, because that's the tool we can fit in here. So I'm going to say offset that one, and offset this one. Okay, great. So now that we have these three, we also want one that will transition smoothly between these two. But I think we're going to let that go because I don't really care specifically what my tool is doing in between these guys. That doesn't really matter too much. Now, the other thing is that just to keep it nice and smooth, I do want my surface to go all the way to the edges. So I'm going to keep a hold of these outside too, even though we know that this area here and this area here aren't really going to be accomplishing anything. I do not need this one here, though. All right, the other problem that I have is that because this is offset, in my plane here, I'm working on the right side plane, my floor isn't exactly smooth. If I were to create a surface off of this, it really wouldn't be very nice. So what I'm going to do, and remember I'm still in 2D mode down here, I'm going to just do dynamic trim and extend it to these this circle that I already have down here. So oops, there's that one and that one. All right, good. Make sure that's good. All right. And if I go to my side view, you can see all of these extended to that same plane. So let's make a spline that connects all of these. Now, for a moment, I don't need to work with this model on, so I'm just going to turn off level number 1. And I'm going to create a spline that was right up here, manual spline, connecting these bottom points. There we go. Great. Now, if you'd ever done, so what we could do now is, if you notice this spline, of course, we just created it touching these same radiuses. It's essentially going to be a radius. I mean, you can draw an arc up here, and it'll more or less fit. It might be off by a couple of tenths here or there, but whatever. But the problem is that's not going to give us a floor that's any different than what we had before, which was just a cylinder. What we need to do is bend this spline so that way the normal of the spline at each of these points lines up with our orange lines here. So to do that, I'm going to come up to Edit Spline. I'm going to click on this. Now, I've got a few things on here that you don't have by default. The very first thing that I'm looking at is this comb analysis, and this is just showing you what each of these node points, so a spline, without getting too far into the details, a spline is made up of node points, and in this case I clicked here, here, and here. So I have 5 node points that made up my spline. A spline is mathematically like if you had some rubber bands and ran a string through them. You can pull on the string to influence, or you can pull on the rubber bands to influence where the string is, but you're not directly pulling on the string. That's kind of what splines are like. There's, we can get into a much deeper analysis if you want, but for a layman, that's a good enough explanation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this thing a little smaller, just that way I could manage it better, maybe a quarter inch. Okay, that's good. And this is showing you the curvature of this spline as we come through. And you see the endpoints are fine. They kind of line up here. I'm just looking at the purple lines as they come out, but in the middle they don't really line up very well at all. So on the basic tab, I'm making sure that I'm modifying, I'm not copying, and I'm on node points, and that should be good enough. Now I'm still in 2D mode, which is good. I don't want to accidentally manipulate this in 3D. And I'm just going to have to start by manipulating each one of these node points. So I'm going to click on this one. Now, what you could do is you could try and manipulate the angle of it freehand, but I'm going to adjust my gnomon. So I'm going to click on this little thing, or you can hit the control key to toggle that. So make sure it's on this gnomon icon, and I'm going to adjust my gnomons. That way it's kind of lining up with these points here. So, something like that. There we go. Now I'm going to hit control to switch back, and I'm going to grab this mark, and you can actually click up at the end if you want to line it up that way. Now it seems like there's a little bit of a bug in Mastercam where it snaps back to the previous one. I don't know why it's doing that, but that's okay. I'm going to hit enter to accept that. All right. Now that's looking a little better. I'm going to go to the next one. And again, I'm going to control. I like to line these up because I think it makes it a little easier to visualize what's happening. I'm going to zip that there. Okay. Now you see the opposites kind of lined up, but that's all right. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And again, I'm just using that control key to adjust those. All right. So what we have, now you see that doing this caused that this point to go pretty far away. Let me go back to my right side view. I'm going to jump back into modify spline here. And again, because we're kind of manipulating the strings or the rubber bands to get the strings, sometimes they can kind of jump away. So I'm just going to grab the little point and snap it to the end. There we go. And that should be okay. I don't like to see this kind of hook here, so I'm just going to align that way. And just going to kind of smooth out this end. It doesn't really matter too terribly much because anything past this this orange shouldn't be used at all. All right, so let's see if that'll be good enough for what we need here. Now I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to bring my level back on. I'm going to hit a dynamic. Okay, snap to the endpoint. Oh, back to 3D mode. And you could also get to that, by the way, if you right-click. It's right on your right-click menu right there, so you don't have to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to tell it that I want to copy and move my Z back to here. Okay, great. Good. Let's go surfaces, a lofted surface, and I'm going to go from that chain to that chain. Okay, good. Now my surface normal is on the wrong side. To use this with the pocketing toolpath, you see that the normal is in here. If you're curious about normals or whatever, let me know in the comments. I can make a video talking about them and how they're used. But what I care for now is that my normal is not on the correct side. If you can't see it in two color like this, under the View tab, turn on your Appearance backside shading, and then you'll be able to see which side's normal. In my case, I'm going to go Surfaces, Change, and that'll switch it. There we go. Good. All right. Now, the other thing is, if you remember this toolpath, we're doing all 4 sections, so I need to duplicate that all the way around. So I'm just going to choose my center. I'm in dynamic, make sure I'm in copy mode still. Oops, not move, I want to, there we go, move my angle 90 degrees. Okay, and I'm going to tell it to give me 2 copies of that. Okay, good. All right, so now let's go into this pocketing toolpath that I had before. I'm going to make sure that it's on a 3/8 end mill. Okay, so tool, 3/8 flat mill. Floor geometries are now going to be this one, this one, this one, and this one. All right. I'm not going to change any other settings. Obviously, you'd want to tweak your, feed, speed, step over, whatever, dealing with a different tool, but that's okay. You'll notice that takes a minute longer to generate than it did before. But let's take a look at how that toolpath looks. So as we come in here, I'm going to just zip around. You know, it looks basically the same as before, but if you look at what the tool is doing at the edge, you'll see that it's a lot closer now to holding that shape. And that's because the center line of the tool is pointed down to the floor. And you see that it's actually comping over here where it's touching the tip. We might be able to even slide that down a little bit. The floor surface isn't really used as part of the calculation though for collision, so I don't think it would change anything. But you know, you could manipulate this a little more to give you a little more tilt, maybe extend this down so that way it curves around a little better. But you get the idea. This is just one way to solve it. Let's take a look at what the other side looks like. You know, and so the other side also could benefit from the same thing. So let's just tweak that a little bit more. So I'm going to pause the video and just tweak it so you don't have to watch me manipulate it a little bit. But let's go back here real quick. I'll show you. Actually, before I pause the video, let me just get rid of these and show you how I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do, obviously we can't use this spline anymore, but we can go wireframe, modify length, and extend these down. And I'm going to lengthen them down by 100 thou, because I think that'll work out well. And then we can come in here to a manual spline, and that should give it some hook down, and shouldn't look too bad when we're done. So I'm just going to come in here and edit the spline again. And let's see here. Actually, this one looks pretty darn good now. Let's see what I can do with this one, though. Let's do an alignment in between these and tilt that over. There we go. Good. And let's do the same thing over here. That pointed about there. Switch back. Again, I'm using that control key. Okay. There we go. And this one, now that I've pulled these other two, I will need to manipulate them, which is one of the fun things about splines. You know, every node point is affecting every other node point, so we need just a little bit of a tweak. There we go. Everything looks like it still lines up pretty good. So let's see what happens if I use this surface now. So dynamic, copy, bring that back up. Let's copy it from there back to there. Okay. Surfaces. We're going to loft. Go from this one to that one. All right. I know we need to change that. Great. And then let's just go dynamic transform again. 90. All right, so we're going to copy and make 2 more copies. Total of 3. Great. All right, into our parameters, set that as our floor, and let's just see what happens there. Sorry, accidentally ended recording when when I went to hit pause. I hit stop instead after processing was done. All right, so if you look at this toolpath, let's just take a look real quick. Jump all the way here. I'm going to just jump right to this position, and you can see, yeah, we're following that wall pretty good. Remember that we do have a little bit of stock left, but I would say that's about, we have probably 5-10% there, or 5 to 10 thou. This side over here probably could use a little bit more angle on that floor surface, but you know, gets pretty close. I'd say that's well within doing a semi-finish and a finish pass with a Swarf toolpath. Either way, hope this helps. Thanks for watching.